From Miller Waldrop Studios, this is Campus Live.
What's up, Campus Live fans, and welcome to the Attorney Stephen Hamilton Countdown to Kickoff Sports Show, live here at beautiful Embassy Suites. Once again, our live show here today is powered by, of course, the Attorney Stephen Hamilton Law Group, as well as all of our sponsors with First, Roof Masters of Lubbock. Fans, with all of the rain and storms that have been here in the Lubbock area over the past couple of months, if you have any type of roof damages, please make sure to check out Roof Masters of Lubbock. And of course, also a very special thanks to JSI Services, Paint Doctor, Lone Star Golf Cars, and the exceptional community hospital here in Lubbock, as well as, of course, thanking Embassy Suites for welcoming us back for another year and being the host of our Countdown to Kickoff series on Campus Live. And fans, if you want to come out today, there's some amazing drink deals. We have $1 canned Chiltons, $3 Margs, and build your own michelada. That sounds pretty interesting. Happy hour as well. Come watch the remaining parts of our show, and then also join us for Business Live. It's a great event that we host on the first Wednesday of every single month out here at Embassy Suites, where you get to meet, mingle all different types of business owners here in the Lubbock area. So please make sure to come join us and listen to us talk about some Texas Tech football. Miller, it's getting started. I mean, it's already started. You know, I was at practice today and at Texas Tech Media Day, and you know, it's crazy just how quickly, you know, the summer seems to go by sometimes. But you know, this past summer I feel like was a little bit longer. You know, with all of the deals that, you know, Texas Tech.
Summer for us by any means.
Yeah.
So, but we're here. You know, it's our first show in the month of August. We're just about a month out from football season. You know, getting excited. Like you said, practice started today. Yesterday you were at Texas Tech Media Days. So we're getting to the swing of things. You know, we're getting there.
Yeah, it's, you know, and it's just so exciting. It's, at least, you know, in our opinion, you know, college football is, you know, that's my favorite sport in the whole world. You know, besides soccer, yeah.
You know that.
Yeah. Besides that, though, probably college football, right?
College football. This just the whole time. You got college football on Saturdays, NFL on Sundays. You can't complain. You know, some midweek action. You know, if you're a diehard college football.
As Americans, this is our pastime. So,
This is.
And actually, you know, today with Texas Tech's practice starting, got a few notes here for y'all and for our fans on Campus Live. You know, of course, the biggest story of this whole entire team right now is Will Hammond and how his recovery is coming off of that torn ACL injury. And, you know, you'd heard throughout the offseason, you know, is he going to be cleared by week number 1? You know, how is his surgery and all the rehab gone? Well, he was cleared 3 weeks ago, actually, by a surgeon. And now, today, was at practice. He didn't have any limits. Really, the only thing that was, as far as limitations go, Coach McGuire is requiring him to wear a knee brace throughout this whole entire fall camp. But when the season starts, I think it'll kind of be optional for Will if he wants to continue to wear it or not. Maybe he wears it for the first 2 weeks against, you know, lesser competition or something. But it was great to see him out there today. He looked really sharp. You know, you did notice at sometimes on some of his deep routes, maybe throwing a little bit just straight arm, you know, kind of getting his lower body still back, you know, in the mix of things, maybe a few underthrows and stuff. But besides that, he looked really, really good today at practice. And I know it was on air, obviously, but really sharp. And also in their red zone period, he had a quarterback draw design and then he ran it into the end zone. Miller. So sounds like his knee is 100%.
He's getting there,
yeah.
It's good to hear that. You know, I wasn't there, but you were there. You're getting all this inside information. You know, obviously this is such a big story surrounding Tech football, the quarterback situation, and will he be healthy? Is he going to be ready to go week 1? And just hearing that he's being able to run around out there, you know, try and get his legs back underneath him, this will be good for the program.
Absolutely. And, you know, I had a couple people ask me, you know, about who's quarterback 2, who's getting those backup reps behind Will, because it is important. And it was Kirk Francis for the majority part of today. Kirko, he's going to be probably quarterback 2. I think it's pretty set in stone there. unless, hopefully he doesn't have, some sort of injury or something like that to happen to him. But the running backs were phenomenal today. I think you can keep it short and sweet in this section. I will say Jacoby Williams might have had the catch of the whole entire day, at least from whatever I saw. I mean,
talking about that,
yeah.
reenacting it out in the studio.
Yeah.
For me. Yeah, you said it was a great catch.
It was, and the fact that he's technically a running back, it's crazy just the dynamic play that this guy is going to provide. You heard Coach McGuire in the spring say Jacoby's going to have a Malachi Tony type role. Phenomenal player. Also, Quentin Joyner, seeing him back on the field today, wasn't wearing a knee brace, was wearing a sleeve on his knee that is obviously still, he's 100%, but when you recover from a major surgery like that, take every precaution you can. He looked every bit of 220 pounds today, though, at practice. He was completely filled out, looking really stout. I mean, that he looks like a guy that could go in there and squat 600 pounds, has those Saquon legs, Miller. Yeah.
What a 1-2 punch he's going to do with Dickey this season. I'm excited to see how that run game really, elevates our offense and takes it to the next step.
Yeah, and then, kind of moving on to the wide receivers, Micah Hudson, obviously throughout this whole entire spring and summer, he's been the talk of this wide receiver room. Once again, he looked like one of the best players, I would say, even on the whole team. That's just how he's transformed his body. He's easily gained 20 pounds since last year, and it's all muscle. The sharpness in his route running, everything he's doing has attention to detail. That's what's, to me, the most impressive. You can tell that this is his contract year. Not that he's going to the NFL next year or anything like that, but he knows this is his year to prove it or kind of lose it. You know what I mean? And you can tell in practice he means business, and today he looked like the best wide receiver on the field for Texas Tech.
That's great to hear. He hasn't really had like the easiest journey, especially here at Texas Tech. Came in as our first 5-star receiver. Came in, didn't play much his freshman year. Ended up transferring out. Went to A&M, for I think only the spring, and then was right back in the mix for the Red Raiders. And he kept his head down, went to work. We've seen before and after pictures. He's put on a lot of muscle, kind of filled out, and he's really just going to come out and prove to the Red Raiders why he deserved that 5-star rating and why he is one of the best wide receivers in the Big 12.
Absolutely, Miller. And Kenny Johnson, he looked amazing today. I know that's kind of your guy. Yeah, he was a great interview, too, at Texas Tech Media Day. Got to talk to him for about 5 minutes, just kind of, his decision on coming to Texas Tech, how Joey McGuire, how important that relationship is, and not just as a receiver, but his ability to return. He gave some great quotes whenever I was talking to him, saying how he's returned since Pee Wee. And, I asked him, is it like a feel thing, or is it just like, how are you so good at returning? And he was like, man, I was just blessed with it. God blessed me with the ability to see the open holes and return the way that he does. And you can see that in his athleticism on the field because he's an amazing wide receiver too. This is your guy.
This is.
Yeah.
It takes a special kind of talent
Yeah.
to, say that you want to be back there returning those kicks when you got 11 grown men running down the hill at you. And so, hearing that, that he's excited to be the returner, we'll kind of go deeper into special teams later on in the show, but I really liked him. I was happy that we got him out of Pitt, and I really think he will be a good utility tool for this offense that has a lot of pieces, a lot of mouths to feed, but I think he's really hungry for that ball and wants the ball in his hands. He's a guy that you trust with the ball in his hands. So,
he is for sure, and another guy that kind of is, I guess, the leader of this wide receiver room just because of how many years he's been in this program. He's a fifth-year senior. It's Queek, and he looked great at practice today as well. But I think my biggest takeaway from this wide receiver room, we've been talking about it, kind of all offseason, is the depth. There's so many guys that Dante Lee Jr., Jalen Jones, Chase Campbell was out there today, and he's 100% healthy now, not dealing with that shoulder injury that he was in the spring. Malcolm Simmons. There's so many pieces that are just in this wide receiver room, and that's actually another thing Kenny had said. I'd asked him, is this the deepest wide receiver room you've ever been in? And he's been in wide receiver rooms with guys like Jordan Addison when he was at Pitt, and he was like, this is the deepest wide receiver room I've ever been in. We can go 2 or 3 deep and still get production out of those guys, and that's just speaks to the roster ability that Joey McGuire and James Blanchard have built over this offseason. And I think this wide receiver room, honestly, I think is kind of being underrated heading into the season, Miller.
I think it is being underrated just because you don't have that star receiver. You don't have that Jeremiah Smith. You don't have that Cam Coleman. You don't have Malachi Tony. But what you do have, what you lack in like that like overall talent, you get back in the depth and the pieces that you can move around and for different schemes. So I think it'll be really good to see. And we've talked about it. How we really think this is Micah's year. He's going to take that step, and he is going to be a top receiver when it's all said and done at this season.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. And it also was great to see as we kind of wrap up the offensive line talk. Jacob Ponton looks like he has completely reshaped his body. Got to talk to him yesterday as well. He's added 15 pounds of muscle to his frame. You look at the official depth chart and roster today, Jacob Ponton, 6'8", 315 pounds, and Howard Sampson on the left side at 6'8", also 330 pounds. That might be, just monsters of tackles. It's crazy just how big those guys are and how powerful they are. And Jacob, he kind of came in last year. He was still a little bit slim. You can tell he has an NFL body right now. Howard, it looks like he's lost, some body fat. He's transformed that into muscle mass as well. He had said also yesterday that he's been working on his core strength this summer, not getting too far over your skis and pass protection and stuff like that. This offensive line, kind of like the receiver room, I think adding in a guy like Jordan Church, you get Hunter Zambrano back as well, and also add in a 5-star in Felix Ojo. That's not even talking about Cash Cleveland, too. I think this offensive line group's being underrated as well, and I think they could be the best group in the whole entire Big 12, Miller.
I agree with you, especially with what we have behind us with our running back room. Our games, you're going to win and lose games in the trenches, and that front five is who I want to go to war with me. Like you said, like they've filled out. We have some absolute monsters on there. Felix Ojo, 5-star freshman. This guy is a beast, and just from where he's at this point in the season to where he might be come week 12, 13, 14, he might be the starter. Just the way that he can transform and really, control that defensive line. It'll be great to see how they all click together and how they play. But I'm excited.
Yeah, Felix, he looks like he's filled out noticeably since the beginning of really this winter when he came here in January. You can tell, and I want to say Coach McGuire said he's added about 20 to 30 pounds of muscle as well. You get in these college programs, and it's just transforming these guys just come in from high school. High school programs are so much different than these college programs. That they eat weights when they're in college, Miller.
I know,
Yeah.
It helps when you have one of the best facilities in all the nation. You have some of the top supporting staff, really trying to look out for our guys, help build them up. The trainers are some of the best in their positions, and it really goes beyond just the 11 on the field at every time. Like when you have a supporting staff and supporting roles that we have here at Texas Tech with the facilities we have, Joey McGuire really transformed this culture here, and it's starting. You're starting to notice it more. It's starting to take shape, and all these guys coming from high school see this and recognize this, and it helps out in our recruiting process. Something's being built here at Tech, and last season was great, but it was just the start, and we're ready to get the ball rolling and become a real true blue blood of this sport.
Yeah, and speaking of building stuff, building a program, building all these recruits, LaDamian Guyton gets on campus today. In the media viewing period, I'm sure it wasn't a coincidence he wasn't out there practicing. He was doing, I want to say he was getting cleared medically and stuff. Obviously, you have to go through that. If he apparently arrived late last night or this morning or something like that. But there were pictures posted of him on social media from Texas Tech. He did end up, going on the practice field in whatever capacity, I'm not sure. I will, hopefully get to see him tomorrow practicing. But once again, another 5-star added into this defensive line. Didn't get to see the defense much today. A lot of them were on the opposite side of the field. I did get to see the linebackers, obviously Ben Roberts, Austin Romaine. Those two guys are solidified. They're going to be the best linebacker duo maybe in the whole country this year. John Curry, he was working with the safeties and individual groups. Obviously, he's a starter at that star position. So kind of the same thing as it was in the spring. In individual drills, he was not with the linebackers. He was with the DBs and the safeties specifically. So kind of the same thing for John. He's going to be in that star role, kind of that Swiss Army knife. And then Bryce Pollock, he was healthy out there today, obviously missed the entire spring cleaning up that shoulder injury he had. He's the best corner in the whole entire country, and he's 100% healthy back, Miller.
That's great to hear. You know, we have such a solid defense. You know, that what really was like our bright spot last season and such a great season. You saw it all last season. You saw it in the Big 12 championship game. You know, poor performance in the college football playoffs, but our defense was really like that star. And for them just to not really rebuild but reload is great to hear. And having a bunch of returners like Bryce Pollock, like Ben Roberts, it's just great to hear.
Yeah, and that'll kind of take us into our Lone Star golf cart drive of the game. Fans, if you want to come out here to Embassy Suites, Lone Star Golf Carts, they do have some display golf carts right outside of Embassy Suites. Very cool looking. They're very high-tech golf carts, you know. And if you want to come out, maybe if you're interested in buying a golf cart, go see one of the displays. And also, fans, if you want to check out their website at lonestargolfcars.com or their store at 8507 Urbana Avenue here in Lubbock, Texas. Once again, come out and join us and come see their displays right outside. And Miller, for this drive of the game, I wanted to focus on what I guess my favorite thing at practice was to see. And in my opinion, it was seeing Will Hammond out there completely healthy,
Moving around good and looking loose.
Yeah, and I guess, you know, based on everything we've talked about today, based off what you've heard, what would you say, I guess, is your drive of the game for today's practice and just Texas Tech being back on the field?
I think another big thing, you know, we just touched on it, Bryce Pollock, you know, being completely back, being healthy, you know, like you said, missed spring with that cleanup on his shoulder, but it's just great to have another face for the defense, another leader out there that, in my opinion, is the best in his position in the conference and probably in all of the nation.
Yeah, and that'll kind of take us straight into our injury report segment. Fans, it's time for this week's injury report presented by the Exceptional Community Hospital. And before we hop into the injury report, we just want to take a moment to recognize the Exceptional Community Hospital as a proud sponsor of Campus Live. And be sure to visit their 24/7 state-of-the-art hospital and ER located at 6401 Spur 327 in Lubbock. They accept all insurances and have short ER wait times. And once again, the Exceptional Community Hospital is proud to support this week's injury report on Campus Live. I think quickly we can hit this. It's all the starters that are returning from injuries. Will Hammond, Quentin Joyner, Bryce Pollock, all these guys, you know, they missed the spring. Now they are back. These are all guys, of course, Will and Bryce are going to start. Quentin is basically a starter. He's going to have, not, you know, complete starter reps. He's going to be rotating, obviously, with Cam and Jacoby, but having all these guys return, and Coach McGuire talked about it yesterday. He said, you know, knock on wood, this is the healthiest they've ever been going into a fall camp. Really, the only, I guess, major injury right now was Jaden Cofield. You know, he tore his Achilles in that Oregon game, but even he is supposed to return at some point early this season. So great to hear that all of these important players are all back and 100% for fall camp, Miller.
I think that's also speaks to how good our facilities are, how good our trainers are, and also how much our guys actually want it, how much they want to get healthy and want to go out there and compete and push for another Big 12 championship and push for a deep run in the college football playoffs. So it's great to hear. It's great that they're back before, you know, our week one matchup. You know, they get the full month of August to kind of, you know, shake off the rust and get back into it.
Absolutely, and that'll kind of wrap up our part one of our countdown to kickoff sports show live here at Embassy Suites. And fans, if you're watching online, stay tuned for part two, as we're going to be covering all things Texas Tech special teams. The past 2 weeks we've been talking about the offense and the defense. Now we're going to deep dive into Kenny Perry's group, who was arguably the best in the whole entire country last season. And if you're online, of course, stay tuned for part two. And if you want to come join us here at Embassy Suites, make sure to come join us. $1 canned Chiltons, $3 margaritas, and build your own micheladas. That sounds like a great deal to me, Miller. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So come out, join us here at Embassy Suites, and stay tuned for part two. And as always, wreck 'em.
From Miller Waldrop Studios, this is Campus Live.
Stephen Hamilton, Countdown to Kickoff Sports Show on Campus live here at beautiful Embassy Suites here in Lubbock, Texas. And our live show, of course, is powered today by the attorney Stephen Hamilton Law Group, as well as our sponsors with Roof Masters of Lubbock. Fans, with all the rain and storms we've had over the past couple of months, if you have any type of roof damages here in the Lubbock area, please make sure to check out Roof Masters of Lubbock. Also, a very special thanks to First JSI Services, Paint Doctor, Lone Star Golf Cars, and the Exceptional Community Hospital here in Lubbock, as well as thanking Embassy Suites for once again welcoming us back for another year of our Countdown to Kickoff Sports Show here on Campus Live. And fans, if you want to come out today, there's $1 canned Chiltons. We have a few right in front of us, $3 margaritas, and build your own micheladas. It's happy hour as well. Come watch the remaining part of our Countdown to Kickoff Sports Show, and then come join us for Business Live. It's a great event out here in Lubbock, and come listen to us talk about some Texas Tech football. And Miller, as we head into this part two, we're going to be touching on all things special teams. Got to listen to Coach Kenny Perry talk yesterday just about his whole entire group. Got to talk to Will Carroll yesterday as well, the new Aussie punter. We've had Jack Burgess as our punter the past 2 years. We get a new Australian in. And Kenny, he spoke very highly of him. You know, he said it's kind of funny whenever I first bring in these Australians, you know, they kind of hate me, but, you know, when they get here and then whenever they graduate, they end up loving me. So he spoke very highly of Will, said he should have a great year, obviously should end up being the starter in the punting room, but great to hear that we have another good punter, because Jack Burgess was actually a really good weapon, I thought, for us last year when we had to use him.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, when we had to use them, which wasn't, it was few and far between. But, you know, we talked about offense week one. We talked about defense week two. Let's talk about special teams. Really the heart and soul behind this Texas Tech Texas Tech team, this program. So, you know, I would say we have the best special teams unit in the Big 12. You can make a case for nationally too, but let's get down into the nitty-gritty of special teams, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And Kenny Perry, you know, he is the highest paid special teams coach, I think, in the whole entire country now. Obviously, he's a character, one of the funniest guys, you know, you'll ever hear speak about his unit. But he really believes in his guys. And, you know, when you return a kicker that was as good as Stone Harrington last year, it should give him that confidence, you know, that his group is going to go out there and be one of the best in the whole entire country once again for this season. Stone Harrington was amazing last year, and I think what kind of kick-started it was that Utah game before halftime when he drilled that 58-yarder. Mm-hmm. You remember Gus Johnson going, "Take that, Joel Klatt," whenever Joel Klatt was like, he's kicking this. You know, Stone has, in Kenny Perry's words, a 70-yard leg. That's how far he can actually kick. So he is a great kicker. He's landing on preseason teams all over the country, including an All-American list. So that just speaks to how respected Stone is, and I think that once again Stone has a chance to be one of the best kickers in the country for Texas Tech this year again. Miller,
what a weapon you have. You know, it's not one you ever want to use, but especially the way we played last year, you know, you get down into the enemy territory and then you eventually have to settle for a field goal. I feel like that was, you know, kind of how the offense worked the last year. You know, we settled for 3 a lot, but, you know, when you have a guy like Stone as your kicker, I'm fine with that. We'll take that. And like you said, you know, you just now told me, like, a 70-yard leg. Like, if we can see that sometime this season, that might be the special teams, like, play of the season for us.
Yeah, you know, and Stone, I think another thing, too, you heard Coach Perry talk about yesterday was wanting to preserve his leg, because we did have to use him so much last year in what Coach Perry calls the no Stone zone and the red zone, because there were a lot of drives that stalled out in that red zone. And I think with a change at quarterback, with a change at scenery, whenever you see Will Hammond come into this room, I think you will see a change maybe in scoring more touchdowns. But for this team, Kenny Perry said that he wants to maintain Stone's workload and cut back from his duties on kickoff. And he wants to have Ian Hershey or Jacob Hand, two guys that they brought in. Ian was here last year, but they brought in Jacob Hand from Stephen F. Austin. They want to see him or both of them do their kickoff duties and then let Stone kind of just kick field goals this year, Miller.
That'll be good for him.
Yeah.
You know, kind of rest. But I think I agree with you. I think we're going to just be scoring a lot more touchdowns. You know, we have Quentin Jr. coming back. You've got one of the best tight ends in the country in Terrence Carter, and you have such a deep wide receiver room. I think we're really going to capitalize, and I think that's something Joey wanted to focus on going into the season, was not having those drives stall out, especially in the red zone. So it'll be really good to see, you know, Stone come off the bench when needed. We obviously we want the sevens, but you know, if we have to settle for the threes, at least we have a great kicker to take them.
Yeah, and I think with the offensive line, you know, I think with the offensive line being better this year, you're going to see less of those field goals as well, because whenever you're dominating people in the trenches, you're going to score more touchdowns. Kind of like how you said with Quentin Joyner. Quentin is a great player, and he's they call, I saw him on social media today, they called him like thick. You know, he is a thick running back, and I think having a guy like that in the red zone as well will be massive. But another thing that Coach Perry talked about as well was the rule changes with the NCAA, and I actually did not know this until yesterday, but he actually said that the NCAA had reached out to Texas Tech before the Oregon game last year and said that basically every punt formation that Texas Tech was doing was illegal, and they had to change every punt formation before that game versus Oregon. And yeah, and it was funny. Coach Perry was like, in lighter terms, you know, he said, without, I guess, getting too deep in it, he was like, I was pissed off, you know what I mean? So he obviously was very mad about that, and Coach McGuire and him had talked about it, that Big 12 officials, they had to tell them, you know, hey, this is what you can and can't do, and it was very confusing. So now that these changes have come into place, one thing I love about Coach Perry is the fact that yesterday he was like, I'm always going to try to find that advantage in special teams, because if you continuously flip the field, not only does it help out your defense, it helps out your offense to get shorter fields to go score a touchdown. So Coach Perry's going to find another, you know, hidden rule or some type of deal in there, right? So have no doubts about that. But it's great to hear that, you know, they're always on top of it, Miller.
I know he's such a smart figure to have leading that special teams group. You know, like you said, the highest paid special teams coordinator in the country. And so for him to come in and, you know, obviously I didn't know that about the Oregon game and everything, trying to change that up. You know, I'd be pissed too if that was me in that case. But Perry is the type of guy that will, you know, read everything, reread it, you know, find those loopholes, find where we can get the advantage, and really set up our team for success.
Yeah, and another thing that he talked about too was last year they had a lot of depth, you know, from guys, walk-ons, you know, guys like Chief Collins or Trent Lowe and stuff like that. Obviously those guys have graduated now. Probably going to be, you know, obviously some veteran guys, you know, guys like Jordan Rogers, a D2 All-American, comes in. He's going to be a big piece on special teams, but there's going to be other guys in the special teams unit, you know, young guys like freshmen that they're not playing, you know, their position on the field, but now with the 5-for-5 passing, they can do whatever they want on special teams now, and I think that could open up a whole new type of possibilities for Coach Perry and for all of his units, including trick plays, you know, different things like that. Now not having to preserve their red shirts because every single player gets an extra year now, I think is going to be huge for this team and opens up a whole entire different possibilities for.
Let's make those freshmen get out there, let them run gunner, make them go run it, you know.
Yeah.
And also want to touch on, you know, we talked about him in the first segment. You know, I've been high on him. Kenny Johnson coming in. What a returner he was for Pitt. Had a punt return and a kickoff return last season. And with Quentin Joyner coming back, you might see Jacoby Williams, you know, take some of those returns and line up in these punt returns, kickoff returns. And so if you have both of them in the back, that's so much speed back there. I think you're going to see a lot of great plays and a lot of great stuff coming out of our special teams unit this season.
Yeah, you're not going to see only one touchdown for, I guess, get returned like last year and it was Jacoby who did it. So Kenny and Jacoby, I would be willing to bet you're going to have 4 or 5 kickoffs returned for touchdowns this year, and that's not even including punt returns, which, you know, that's a whole entire different story. We could have 4 or 5 different guys back there this year, but that'll kind of wrap things up for our special teams talk. Thank you so much, fans, for coming out and supporting us. And if you want to come out and join us for the remaining half of our show here at Embassy Suites for the Attorney Stephen Hamilton Countdown to Kickoff Sports Show, come out. There's $1 canned Chiltons, $3 margaritas, and build your own micheladas. And if you're watching us online, stay tuned for part 3 as we're going to kind of get into some fun stuff talking about our national championship picks and some under the radar players that we think could really pop off this year around the country. And as always, wreck 'em.
From Miller Waldrop Studios, this is Campus Live.
What's up, Campus Live fans, and welcome back to the Attorney Stephen Hamilton Countdown to Kickoff Sports Show, live here on Campus Live, here at Embassy Suites here in Lubbock, Texas. Of course, our live show here today is powered by the Attorney Stephen Hamilton Law Group, as well as our sponsors with Roofmaster of Lubbock. Fans, with all of the rain and storms that we've had over the past couple of months here in the Lubbock area, if you have any type of roof damages, please make sure to check out Roofmasters of Lubbock. And also a very special thanks to JSI Services, Paint Doctor, Lone Star Golf Cars, and the Exceptional Community Hospital here in Lubbock, as well as, of course, thanking Embassy Suites for another year of our Countdown to Kickoff series on Campus Live. And fans, if you want to come join us for part 3 of our show today. $1 canned Chiltons, $3 margaritas, and build your own micheladas. It's also happy hour as well. Come watch the remaining half of our show. And also make sure to come join us for Business Live that is happening right now with our show. Got all these people right here behind us celebrating Business Live, so it's a great time. Come join us. And then, hey, listen to us talk about our national championship picks and our under the radar picks for part 3 right here, Miller. I got a couple for under the radar players. I know you had one that you really locked in on. You want to go ahead and give your pick?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. So the player that I picked, kind of like a player to watch, under the radar, not really getting as much coverage this season as much as he should, is going to be KJ Duff, the wide receiver out of Rutgers University. Last year he was kind of the guy for them. He had over 1,000 receiving yards. I believe he finished 7 touchdowns. Yeah, 60 catches, 1,000 receiving yards, 7 touchdowns. And then he also was second in the Big Ten with yards per catch. And I think he's not really getting talked about enough because he is on such a weak football team in the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. They finished last season 5-7. They were 2-7 in Big Ten conference play. The Big Ten is arguably the best conference in college football, and you're getting overshadowed by, your Indiana, your Ohio State, your Oregon, even other ones like USC, Michigan State, like these bigger names. When you think about football, especially Big Ten football, the Scarlet Knights aren't a team that pops up in your head. And he was really, I was watching an interview with him earlier, and he was really, kind of set on leaving, after his explosive sophomore season. He wanted to get out, and he wanted to go compete for the national title. He said what he wants to do most of the season is win, and it's really hard to do when you play on such like a weaker Power 4 conference to school. I really think this is going to be a season for him, to take that next step. And really, I think he has the opportunity to forego his senior year, go into the draft, and go be a first-round draft pick. The one thing that does kind of scare me this season, though, is they don't really have their set quarterback. They have, on my notes right here, they have Dylan Lonergan, transfer from Boston College, who he was a starter last year, but wasn't really this, air raid kind of player. He was kind of just back there as a field general, leading the offense, but he didn't really have that deep ball threat. And then you have another AJ Suris, who was in that Rutgers. He was the backup for the Scarlet Knights last year, so he kind of knows the scheme and everything, but he's nothing special. It's definitely going to be a downgrade in the quarterback production this season for Duff, but he is such a special player that it doesn't matter. You can just put it up, throw up the ball, and he will go get it. He had 22 contested catches last season. Some of them, you'll probably remember his one-handed catch against Iowa, which I believe might have been, I think it was second and the runner-up for Big Ten play of the season, only behind the Indiana catch against Penn State, that won the game and allowed the Hoosiers to keep their perfect season. But, for me, that is my player to watch this season. I think he's going to have a spectacular year. He was a finalist last season on the Biletnikoff watch list, and I think he has a chance to be a finalist this season, and then, go into the NFL, go compete, and really have a great career after that.
Yeah, and for a guy like him, if he goes off again too, it wouldn't surprise me if there was a team out there, if there were still maybe scouts in the NFL saying like he's a great player, but maybe he's like a second round, third round pick or something like that. It wouldn't surprise me at all to go see a huge Power 4 school like a Texas Tech or Ohio State or someone to go drop $3 or $4 million to have him come back.
He's worth every penny of
right.
That. He is. He is that big wideout. I believe he's 6'6", 225. Pure muscle, and he's always been like that kind of guy, and he's been known for spectacular catches. A fun fact: he was actually at 10 years old featured in a Nike commercial for a play he made in his Pee Wee football season. He just had a one-handed snag that, he said in an interview, like he saw the ball coming over his shoulder and he was just going to tip it back to himself, and he just stuck his hand out there and just like snagged it and took off running. So I think this guy, like you said, I think he has first-round potential. I can definitely see it, especially in this day and age of NIL, some team going to drop $3, $4, $5 million on a player that, can lead their offense next season and be a real threat.
Yeah, that's a great pick for you, Miller. I'm going to go. I have a couple of names on this list. I'm going to start with 2 in the Big 12, and then I have 2 in the SEC as well. Omarion Miller comes in from Colorado to Arizona State. This is a guy highly coveted out of the transfer portal, but really throughout this offseason, you haven't heard a bunch of immense hype about him this year. And honestly, I think that Omarion Miller could end up being one of the best wide receivers in the whole entire country this year as well. I think he is a guy that ends up on Blitnikoff lists in a similar way to KJ Duff. I think Omarion has the talent to be maybe the best wide receiver in the Big 12 this year too. Texas Tech was in on him, and it was very interesting to me the fact that he didn't end up taking a visit here. I don't know what went into that or why Texas Tech didn't end up pursuing him. Maybe, they obviously Tech thought they had a good chance at Cam Coleman, so they kind of, went in that direction. But to see the fact that he did go to a Big 12 foe in Arizona State, Kenny Dillingham, he knows how to use his weapons. Obviously, Jordan Tyson was just a first-round pick. He's Cam Scattaboo, Sam Levitt, obviously, before going to LSU. I think Omarion Miller with Cutter Boley at quarterback this year, he's going to be a spectacular player. This is a guy at Colorado last year. He almost had 1,000 yards and 8 receiving touchdowns, averaging 17 yards per catch. Colorado had no quarterback play last year. Just average quarterback play this year. I think he could easily have 12 to 1,300 yards this year with double-digit receiving touchdowns, and then end up being a really high draft pick as well, Miller.
I think that's a great pick. There's a lot of underrated players, especially in the Big 12, because it is, such an overlooked conference. You're going to go look at the Big 10 and the SEC and try and find your playmakers there, but there's hidden gems scattered throughout the Big 12, and I think people are going to soon realize that this season.
And I had to do a homer pick right here as well, too. John Curry, I think he's not getting enough love. I think John Curry ends up on some type of All-American list at the end of this season. I think he is that good. He is that versatile. He could end up even leading the team in interceptions, but also be one of the highest guys in tackles as well, because he just roams all over the field. But my favorite pick is Mississippi State quarterback Kamario Taylor. I think this guy this year, he appeared in 11 games last year, only ended up starting a couple at the end of the year, still ended up throwing for over 600 yards. He had 5 touchdowns, but he ended up having almost 500 yards rushing and 8 rushing touchdowns in very small spurts playing last season. I think Kamario, they actually have kind of underrated weapons surrounding him this year. I think this guy is going to pop off in a huge way. I actually think Mississippi State, if he ends up taking the leap that I believe he's going to, they have a favorable schedule. I could see them, getting 7, 8 wins. Last year, they had 3 or 4 games that just went in the wrong direction for them that they were winning. You think of the Texas game last year, they were up by 17 points in that game, blow the lead. Multiple games like that from them last year. I think with a better quarterback play, because Blake Shapen was the quarterback last year, and then he got hurt, then Kamario Taylor got hurt. It was kind of just like a seesaw of who's in there. Kamario was a true freshman last year. Now it is his job. It's been his job this whole summer. I think he could end up being one of the most electric quarterbacks in the whole entire country this year, Miller.
I love that pick. When we were talking about and doing the research for who our underrated teams are, Mississippi State was one of the teams I was considering because of Kamario Taylor. And I really think, like you said, they have a favorable schedule. This guy isn't being talked about enough. Whenever I see lists, they love talking about the SEC and the quarterbacks. You have your Arch Manning, you have Trinidad Chambliss, Sam Levitt now coming in, John Mateer. You really have a bunch of these. Lenore's. The list goes on and on. And when you start putting these guys that have played last season and were big starters in that way, Kamario Taylor, his name starts dropping on that list, and I think that's just because people aren't buying into that hype, but they need to. This is someone right now, like, you got to buy his stock while it's low, because he's going to have one hell of a season and sell him when he's high. I think he's going to really take that next step, and I think at the end of the season, you'll see him as a top 5 SEC quarterback.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think too, because he is so young, I would hope, he would have the opportunity to stay at Mississippi State, because I think Jeff Lebby is a good coach, but if he has the year that, we think he could, there is going to be a team out there offer him $5 to $6 million at Mississippi State. I'm sorry, I unfortunately cannot pay that. He is a hometown kid, though, from Mississippi, so maybe, gives him that hometown discount, but I think this is a guy that easily ends up having an amazing year, and then you see him maybe hit the transfer portal. You know, that's just the way that this sport works now.
Unfortunately, that's how it is. Yep.
And I think that's something you could see, but, you know, I honestly, you know, for a guy like him, maybe you do see him stay at Mississippi State. Maybe they start building something there for Jeff Levy. But Kamario Taylor is my favorite pick. But as we kind of move on from our underrated players, Miller, I think there's so many on this list, especially with the transfer portal now. But a lot of those underrated players are going to contribute to the best teams in the country. Mm-hmm. Into our national championship picks, we talked about our playoff brackets last week. Who is your national champion for this season and why?
My national champion is the Ohio State Buckeyes. You know, I really think they have a good program last year. You know, I was at the Cotton Bowl whenever they did end up losing to Miami, which Miami did go on that run. You know, I don't think anyone really saw that. Like, saw them playing the Hoosiers in the national championship game. But, you know, Ohio State, that is a true blue program. They are, you know, in a really good conference in the Big Ten. They have a very tough schedule this season, but I think that's going to be good. I think it's going to be beneficial for Ryan Day and his group of guys out there. You know, they have 51 newcomers because they lost so many to the draft. Like, I mean, they had four first-round picks, I believe. Four or five. A lot of Buckeyes in the first round. And so, you know, Ryan Day, he has a good staff. He's got Arthur Smith, you've got Matt Patricia, you know, NFL caliber coaches, you know, opting to stay. They could have easily gone and got a head coaching job somewhere, but they believe in what Ryan Day's doing in Ohio State. They're believing that, you know, this is going to be their year again, you know, after winning it a couple seasons ago. And then you return arguably the best player in the country, not even in his position, just player, in Jeremiah Smith. And, you know, his quarterback, Julian Sainz, stays. You get the sophomore season of Bo Jackson, and then you bring in five-star receiver Chris Henry Jr. This is going to be a great team, a great offense, and it's going to be super fun to watch and see what Arthur Smith can kick up for the boys up there.
Yeah, I think the Buckeyes are going to be a very, very good team. They were my number, I think they were my number 2 seed or 3 seed. I can't remember exactly which one. I want to say it was number 2.
I think it's 2.
Overall, I think the only game they actually lose this year until deep in the playoffs before then is actually to my national champion. I do think that Texas this year is going to end up being the national champion. If they don't do it this year, then I don't see them doing it any year under Steve Sarkisian. There's no excuses for this Texas team this year. They seem to have fallen on their face many times in the past few years, deep in the playoffs. Last year they didn't even make the playoffs. They were 9-3. They lose the opener to Ohio State. They lose on the road to a terrible Florida team. And this year's team is significantly better. They had an insane portal class and then also an insane high school class like they always do. Mm-hmm. But the retention of their players that they had is, in my opinion, what is going to make them the national champions. They return Trevor Gooseby. They return Arch Manning. They return Colin Simmons, Jelani McDonald at safety. These are all guys that could arguably be the best players at their position in the whole entire country. And then you just add in all the guys they did in the portal and through their high school recruiting and everything like that. I forgot to bring up Haro Kanu too at defensive tackle, phenomenal player. This Texas team, you add Kim Coleman, the running backs they did, the offensive linemen they did, just this group on paper is the most talented team. It's a matter of if they're actually going to do it. If they don't, I think that if you see this Texas team somehow lose like 3 games in the regular season, I think Steve Sarkisian's seat gets real hot down there in Austin because of the investment into this team. This is easily a $50 million roster, the most expensive in college football. I don't see that happening, though. I actually think that they beat Ohio State in the first few weeks of the season, and they end up running the table. Very hard to do. Indiana did do it last year. I think that Texas ends up actually doing that this year. They're the most talented team. I think, though, it's just a matter of if. But once again, if there's going to be a year for this Texas team, it's got to be this year, Miller.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, if any year is going to be the year, this is Sark's best team. Yeah. This is their year to go out there and win it. I, as a Red Raider, do not want them to. I would love, as much as I love you, I would love if your pick was wrong and they even just failed to make the playoffs, you know. But it's hard to not consider them a national championship contender when they have all these returning pieces, and then like you said, you bring in an amazing portal class, probably the best portal class. You get Cam Coleman from Auburn, you get Hollywood Smothers, and then you saw Arch really like step into it as last season. He might have had a couple rough games at the beginning of the season. I think it was just kind of like that national spotlight was on him because of his name, because of who he is, and like how much he's invested with Texas. And I think really this year you're going to see Arch take that next step and really carry that Manning name. And I agree they are a really good contender. I just don't want to see them succeed, But I agree. I think that's a good pick. And when we were talking about our brackets, I had them actually losing in the semifinals to Ohio State.
Yeah, it's kind of a consensus, for me and Miller. I think, honestly, our top three teams are Texas, Ohio State, probably Miami. And I think if you're gonna, I guess, put some money on a team or anything like that, it's probably your safest bet to go with one of those three teams. I would say I'd probably add Notre Dame in that mix as well, just with who they returned on the defensive side and at quarterback with C.J. Carr. But it's kind of been our consensus when we've been talking about the playoffs. It's kind of those 3-4 teams, Miller.
No, I agree. I mean, they are like head and shoulders above. I could even throw Georgia in there just with Kirby Smart. He's returned Gunnar Stockton. Their defense is always elite under them, and so that's who I have winning the SEC and our predictions and everything. So I think really like those 5 teams are just a level above, a tier above everyone else. But like you said, I mean, I hate to throw the word betting around, especially as a Red Raider and everything that's been going on. But if I was a betting man, those are probably one of the teams I'll be looking to sprinkle some on.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much, fans, for tuning in for part 3. And stay tuned for our last segment as we're going to do part 3 of our schedule breakdown for Texas Tech, talking about the Colorado and Arizona State game. This is obviously, we've touched on the first couple games in the season. We're moving towards more of the middle of the year now.
Getting into conference play.
Yeah, absolutely. And make sure to come out to Embassy Suites. Join us for the last part of our show. Come join us for Business Live. And then if you're online, stay tuned for our last segment. And as always, wreck 'em.
From Miller Waldrop Studios, this is Campus Live.
What's up, Campus Live fans, and welcome back to the attorney Stephen Hamilton Countdown to Kickoff Sports Show on Campus Live. Live here at beautiful Embassy Suites here in Lubbock, Texas. And our live show here today is powered by, of course, the attorney Stephen Hamilton Law Group, as well as with our sponsors of Roof Masters of Lubbock. Fans, with all the rain and storms we've received in the Lubbock area over the past couple of months, if you have any type of roof damages, please make sure to check out Roof Masters of Lubbock, as well as a very special thanks to First JSI Services, Paint Doctor, Lone Star Golf Cars, and the Exceptional Community Hospital here in Lubbock, as well as thanking Embassy Suites for welcoming us back for another year of our Countdown to Kickoff show on Campus Live. And fans, if you want to come out, join us after our show, come catch the end of it. There's $1 canned Chiltons, $3 margaritas, and build your own micheladas. Please make sure come listen to us and talk about Texas Tech football, and also join us for Business Live as it's going on right behind us. As you can see, got a good crowd here with us tonight. But Miller, in this last segment, we've been talking about our schedule of these past 2 weeks and what we can kind of expect on Texas Tech's schedule this year. This is the 5th game of the year that we're covering for Texas Tech. It's this Colorado game.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I think, Colorado doesn't have the hype behind what they used to have a couple years ago, when you had Travis Hunter, Heisman winner. You got Deion Sanders, leading the Buffaloes, year 4.
Yeah.
Feel like time has flown.
It's
so
crazy.
It'll be good to see, how they kind of start the year. They have a really tough schedule opener against Georgia Tech, and I believe it's in Georgia. At Georgia Tech. So, it'll be a good challenge to see how this Colorado team comes out of the portal, comes out of spring and fall ball, and see what Deion has in store.
Yeah, I think Colorado, actually, after they finished 3-9 last year, I do think that this team, I wouldn't say underrated, but I do think they're going to have a much better year this year. They do lose Jordan Seaton. Obviously, he goes to LSU. He's one of the best offensive tackles in the whole entire country. But Deion has really overhauled, especially in the skill position room. You had Danny Scudero, phenomenal player from San Jose State. He was a Blitnikoff finalist last year. DeAndre Moore Jr. comes in from Texas. You return Joseph Williams. It's the offensive line. If they can somehow figure out some sense of this offensive line to protect Julian Lewis. Julian Lewis was a very talented high school recruit. Last year, obviously, he struggled quite a bit, but I wouldn't put all of that on him. He had no running game because of their offensive line. And if they can somehow find a sense of a running game, I do think this Colorado team can score on some teams. I think their defense, though, really might struggle this year, starting honestly from scratch. They were last year the worst in the Big 12 and finished 121st nationally in all of college football. They do bring in a new defensive coordinator. They do add in guys like Leonga Lafau from Texas, Gideon ESPN Lampron from Bowling Green. Boo Carter, who was a very good player for Tennessee, just had some off-the-field issues. I think this defense is going to be better, though. I think that this transfer portal class that they had, I think that they're adding the right pieces to this squad. Do they win 8 games? No. I think that they do improve, though, where they are a bowl team. As far as Texas Tech goes, though, I do think actually with this being a road game, after, the Sam Houston State game, not that you kind of sleepwalk into this game, but I can definitely see this being a very early kickoff. You're on mountain time, the elevation, everything. I think the beginning of this game could be a little bit tough, but you should dominate the line of scrimmage in this game, Miller. Yeah.
I really think that, I agree with you. I think this might be a game, we kind of like walk into, I think it's going to be a really slow start for the Red Raiders, especially the offense. Like you said, their defense wasn't all that last year, and not saying it's going to be anything special this year, but they did bring in a lot of pieces. I'll give it to Coach Prime, going out and recruiting these guys, bringing them in. This is really kind of a ragtag group of guys, but who better to lead that than, Coach Sanders. I really do think that, they're going to give us fits early. Like you said, it's an away game. You're in mountain time, the elevation. Boulder's kind of a tough place to play. they love their football up there in Denver. So I think we might struggle to find our footing the first couple drives, but eventually our talent and skill level is just going to overpower them. I have I've got Tech winning, obviously. You go 34-14. I think they find 2 touchdowns on us, maybe 2 early ones, and then other than that, can't score, can't find anything. We wake up, the beast wakens up, and then we just smother them. We didn't forget, them coming into our home a couple years ago and beating us. So we don't forget that, and so we're going to go out there, run the ball down their throats. Really just dominate them in the lines, in the trenches, because we are bigger, we are faster, and we are stronger, and so we will really control the flow of the game with that.
Yeah, and I'll kind of get into that with our Paving the Way to Victory segment. Really what Texas Tech is going to do to Colorado. I'll go ahead and give my score prediction as well. I'm going to say 41-17. I think that kind of similar way. I think early on in this game, maybe in the first quarter, you could see it. Maybe it's 10-7 or something like that. Halftime, maybe it's 21 to 10 or
Something
where
like
it's
that.
closer, but. I'll get into the nitty-gritty of how we're going to win this game against Colorado in our Paving the Way to Victory segment. But next, much tougher game.
Yes.
Arizona State. At least this one's at the Galaxy this year.
Yes.
Last year it was in Arizona State. Was the only loss Texas Tech suffered last year. Obviously, Sam Levitt's not on this team anymore. Jordan Tyson's not on this team anymore. Malik Brown's not on this team anymore. They have to replace their offensive line. They actually, Nacho was a first-round pick to go into the Pittsburgh Steelers. But Kenny Dillingham, one of the best coaches in this whole entire conference. I think he's right up there with Joey and Kalani Sitake. They still ended up having, an 8-5 year, and Sam Levitt basically missed, the whole entire latter half of last year. It's a matter of replacing these talented guys that all have left the program. I think Cutter Boley coming in from Kentucky, he was a talented thrower for Kentucky last year. But I spoke about him earlier. Marion Miller comes in from Colorado. I think this guy could be elite. And they also added Boston College transfer Reed Harris, who was a phenomenal player as well. Texas Tech was actually interested in him as well. I think he actually took a visit to Lubbock, if I'm remembering correctly. They add a few other pieces to their wide receiving core. I think their defense, though, is going to be pretty solid. They do have to replace some pieces, but they returned C.J. Fight. He did get injured over the offseason, but supposed to be back. He is one of the best defensive tackles in this whole entire conference, probably besides A.J. and Mateen. He's number 3. Phenomenal player. They add in an edge rusher in Jalen Thompson from Michigan State. Go down the list. Owen Long, though, on this defense coming in from Colorado State, led the whole entire country in tackles last year with 151. He comes into this linebacker room. He should be an upgrade in that regard. But their secondary is their strength, and they actually also, one of their safeties last year, who was first-team All-Big 12, Miles Router, just applied for another year of eligibility because of all the injunctions and everything going on right now. So they could return an All-Big 12 safety as well. Thankfully, though, this game's in Lubbock, though.
Thankfully,
and I think that is going to play a big factor in this game. But Texas Tech's going to end up winning this game. But I think we'll get into the nitty-gritty of that here in a second. Miller, go ahead and give us your breakdown.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. The Sun Devils, 2 years ago won the Big 12. Took Texas to the wire, and honestly, one of the best college football playoff games in recent memory. Cam Scatabo had a great game. Everything. The rush touchdown, receiving touchdown, throwing touchdown, that throwing play he had. I really think this is. Sorry. Background noise. Another thing, though, Tech has the bye week before. We do have that week of rest, so it is going to be, kind of a challenge going up to Colorado, but thankfully we do have that week of rest, a week to prepare, trying to get healthy, get our legs back underneath us before the Sun Devils come into Lubbock. And Lubbock's a hard place to play. Like you said, they were our one blemish on our otherwise perfect record last season, and I think, like I said earlier, we're not going to forget. We're going to take that, and we're really just going to push these Sun Devils to the limit to see what they're really made of. I know Kenny Dillingham, he's a great coach. it'll be interesting to see what he kind of like schemes up with how he'll handle such a talented Tech offense and such a deep defense for us. I don't know. We've kind of talked about this, and with the Big 12 being not really an elite level conference, you kind of need rivalries to like spark stuff, kind of like draw that national attention. And I think the Sun Devils are starting to slowly become a real rival of the Red Raiders.
Yeah, and I think as we head into our Paving the Way to Victory segment, fans, JSI Services is a proud partner of Campus Live, and be sure to visit their website at jsiservicesllc.com to learn about their asphalt/paving services, earth and dirt works, concrete and gutter paving, crack fill, seal coating, and stripping services. And thank you to JSI Services for their proud support of Campus Live. Miller, on this Arizona State game, I think Texas Tech, first off, remembers what happened last year when Arizona State rushed the field. David Bailey got in a little skirmish.
Yep.
Fans were pushing him. Our players were, not treated the best. Will Hammond started that game, did not play good.
No, did not.
I thought the coaching in that game wasn't very good, if you want me to be really honest.
I would agree.
All of that combining with the fact that they were your lone loss in the regular season last year, and they come into your house with Will Hammond now being the starting quarterback, I think this has the recipe for a huge revenge game from last year. And Joey and Kenny are close friends, so it's not like it's going to be us running up the score on them. I think it's going to be the fact that the guys that were on the team last year remember how it felt walking off that field last year, and they want Arizona State to feel the same way. I see Texas Tech, first off, on the defensive line, dominating this game. And Marion Miller is going to be a tough matchup with Bryce Pollock and Reed Harris as well for whoever's that second corner, probably Amir Boyd. But if they can contain those guys, Cutter Bully is not Sam Levitt. And as much as I love Marion Miller, at least not yet, he's not Jordan Tyson. Jordan Tyson demolished us last year. He had his best game of the whole entire season. I think the defense dominates this game. I think offense is obviously going to have some success, probably more of a running approach versus a weaker defensive line besides CJ Fight. I think Texas Tech wins this game on the ground and with their defense. I think you could see Texas Tech have 4 or 5 sacks in this game. I think Texas Tech actually ends up winning this game around 33-20 or 33-14, somewhere around that range, Miller.
I would agree. I think 33-14, that's kind of a good score. I think, like you said, the guys remember. They remember that loss because other than the Oregon one, that was the only loss. And with, kind of this rivalry brewing, how their fans stormed the field, I could go on about their fans, probably not smart in front of the camera. I like my job. I'm going to keep it. But, they're in our house now. We're going to treat them the same way they treated us. We're going to have our guys on the defensive line. We are bigger than them. We are better than them. And we're really just going to smother them. But this is also a game that I really like to look at as what can prepare us to take the next step in the college football playoff. Like, these are games that are going to test some of your skill players where they haven't really been tested all season.
Yeah.
Like you said, Miller isn't Tyson. Tyson, he went 8th overall to the Saints.
Yeah.
He was a beast, I really think this will be a good matchup for the Red Raiders. I think that we still, I think we dominate them. I don't think it's really going to be, there might be a couple close moments early on, but I really think we run away with it. And I really liked your points. Like, we're going to win this game in the trenches, especially with how weak their defensive line is. This game will be won on the ground with our 3-headed monster backfield.
Yeah, I think, too, this is a game. I'm going to go ahead and predict it right now. I think the Texas Tech defense turns over Arizona State 2 or 3 times in this game. I think you could see a strip sack or Cutter Bully. Still a young player. He's only a true sophomore in the toughest environment he's going to play in all year. You see him throw an interception or something like that. I think that's where you see Texas Tech just dominate this game. But going back to the Colorado game, kind of in a similar way, but I think it'll be in a more dominant fashion because Colorado is a much weaker, even more weaker than Arizona State. I think they, just like you said earlier about this game, I think you go up to Colorado and go run it for 200 or 300 yards and just dominate ball control. In the first half, maybe your secondary loses one of their talented receivers on a big play or something like that, where you know, like we said, it's like 10-7 or something, but you go up there and just dominate in the trenches and win. And I think when you're looking at these games in the Big 12, there is no other team in this conference that can compete with you physically on any of the line of scrimmage. And I think that that's the approach that you're going to have in both of these games, especially in that Arizona State one. And you want that revenge factor. I hope, you know, Joey and them are pissed off that they lost last year to this team. And they, even though it's different players from Arizona State last year, I hope that, you know, Texas Tech has that approach that this was the only one we didn't get last year in the regular season, and they show it on the field.
Yeah, I mean, they came into our house 2 years ago. You know, we took care of business then. I think we should have no problem with them this season. Going back to Colorado, I agree. I can see Scutero, you know, getting free early and, you know, getting that quickly, maybe 7-0, and you're kind of like, a wake-up call for us. You know, we will be more physical, and I'd even make the prediction that I think we see both Joyner and Dickey both rush for 100 plus yards. I think they're really going to have a great game, and then you're just going to see really our offense come to life and, you know, kind of get that ball rolling. You know, you've got that bye week in between, and then come home and take care of business against Arizona State.
Well, if you're sensing a theme, we are having Texas Tech undefeated so far throughout all of our schedule breakdowns.
Yeah, if you're keeping track at home, it's 6-0 right now.
Yeah. So as we kind of advance throughout the weeks, I guess, you know, pay attention to that. But I think you can kind of sense a theme of where we're going with Texas Tech's schedule this year. But that'll kind of wrap things up here for our attorney, Stephen Hamilton, Countdown to Kickoff Sports Show, live here from Embassy Suites. And once again, if you want to come out, join us for Business Live that's happening right behind us. Please do. It's a great time. A ton of great drink deals, great food out here at Embassy Suites. And once again, thank you as well to our sponsors with Roofmaster, Paint Doctor, Lone Star Golf Cars, JSI Industries, and the Exceptional Community Hospital here in Lubbock, as well as our fans who continuously show us our support on social media and also watching us every single week out here at Embassy Suites. And stay tuned for next week's show, as we're going to be continuing our discussion about Texas Tech football. And remember that Campus Live is your one-stop news source for all things Texas Tech and Lubbock. Rectum.